That's a fun fact of life in Vermont. It's also toxic and environmentally corrosive. Is there a better way? Today on Across the Fence, we're talking about a UVM project promoting an ice-breaking alternative. Hello, Vermont. I bet you had no idea, but this week is Winter Salt Week. And yes, there are things you can do to celebrate it. We're going to get to that. But first, ready for a pop quiz? Here goes. How many metric tons of road salt do you think are applied to U.S. highways each year? Is it A, 1 million, B, 5 million, C, 10 million, or D, 20 million? And to help you out, there are about 4 million miles of highway in the United States. So do some math. What do you think? To give us the answer, talk about Winter Salt Week and help us think about the impact of all that salt on ecosystems and waterways like Lake Champlain, I am joined today by Chris Stepanek, Extension Associate Professor at UVM and the Associate Director and Extension Leader with the Lake Champlain Sea Grant. We're also joined by Jason Benjamin, a crew leader with the Public Works Department in Winooski, joining us to talk about some innovative practices that are changing the environmental impact of winter salting in Winooski. Chris and Jason, thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited to learn all about Winter Salt Week. I'm going to increase my salt IQ here. Start by the answer to that hot question, pop quiz question. How many million tons of salt are we putting on the roads each year?
So the answer is D. So it's about 20 million metric tons, and a metric ton is 2,200 pounds. So it's around 23 to 25 million tons.
So much salt.
So if you want to try to figure out what that looks like, if you take a town's plow, put the salt in the back, fill it up. This is a traffic jam of plow trucks from Burlington, Vermont to Seattle, back to Burlington, and back to Glacier National Park.
Wow. Okay, so that is basically going back and forth across the country almost a couple of times.
Yeah.
That is an awful lot of salt.
It's a lot of salt.
Okay, so how about in Vermont? We're probably, do we put enough salt to, say, cover dump trucks across the state? I mean, how much salt are we doing?
So it varies based on community size, but estimate is around 250 to 300,000 tons of salt per year on Vermont roads.
On Vermont roads, that's amazing. That's a lot of salt. Jason, what's the situation like in Winooski?
Winooski, typically on a normal winter season, we'd use between 600 and 800 ton, just the city alone. So, and that's dry salt.
That's dry salt, okay.
Yep. And we've adapted salt brine. We purchased salt brine unit, and we're switching over to liquid and a pre-wet system.
Okay. So what are the benefits of doing that? So
the liquid is a pre-treat for us, or anti-ice. We call it anti-ice.
Okay.
And we'll go out if we know a storm's coming, and we'll lay it down on the road. We'll cover the road and give it a sheen of salt.
So you can do this in anticipation?
Correct.
Okay.
And it gives us a little bit of time to respond to bad weather. Most of my guys are a little ways away from the city, so our response time is a little slow, so it allows us a little bit of time to get there and
that's a good point, because it's not like you're sitting in some building in the middle of Winooski waiting for the storm to begin. You're living your lives, you're out and about, and then you need to get into town and actually start the process. So you can pre-treat a little bit.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then our pre-wet system is basically where we have a sprayer at the auger, and as the salt is dropping, we're wetting it with salt brine. So that way, when it hits the ground, it kind of stays in place. And people don't think about when you're laying dry salt down, traffic tracks it.
Right.
It bounces, rolls to the edge of the road,
it's all
and
under
then
the bottom of your car.
It's gone, and it gets under the bottom of your car.
Yeah, so it actually just moves around. There's a lot of disbursement too.
A lot of it will end up on the edge of the road.
Edge of the road.
So the pre-wet helps prevent that. It kind of stays in place.
Better system.
And it activates the salt a lot quicker. Instead of about 45 minutes, it'll activate it in about 20 minutes.
Oh,
so it'll start working a little quicker.
Ooh, all right. So this is an important practice. And the salting, Chris, why are we worried about salt in the ecosystem? What's the environmental impact? And it's maybe not even environmental, not just environmental.
Yes, right. So there's environmental and other impacts. So environmentally, when that salt, if it's rolling off the road, it can impact vegetation next to the road. It can compact soils next to the road. It can also enter surface waters, so streams and the lakes and ponds, and it can be toxic.
Which is why Sea Grant is involved.
That's why we care. Yeah,
that's why you care.
Yeah, so it's can be toxic to fish and other aquatic life, and it can shrink the habitat that's available. There's examples in the Adirondacks where lakes are not able to cycle in the way that they normally do, and it basically means that fish don't have adequate habitat. They don't have oxygen because the salt has created a space where there's no oxygen in the lake. Infrastructure is also impacted. So if you think around bridges or anything metal, doorways, stairs, concrete is impacted by salt and
all that pitting that we're all very familiar with. Well, and it's not, and we're not just putting salt on roads, right? I mean, you mentioned there's sidewalks. I'm putting it on my driveway. You know, there's institutions, the grocery store, UVM. So what there were some things that were happening at UVM that I thought were really interesting.
Yeah, so a few years ago, UVM started a salt reduction team because they were facing a lot of expenses in replacing stairways and door frames and doors. So we have some buildings that have historic wood or glass, and they have electronics built into them for our key cards. And to replace those doors is significant expense. It can be $100,000 to replace a door. And when things don't last as long as they are anticipated to last, that cost the university hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that weren't planned.
Sure, and if you've got salt damage to the bottom of your car, I mean, we're all familiar with the various different economic impacts, so ecosystem impacts, environmental impacts, economic impacts. If it's so bad, though, why do we continue putting salt down in general? I think that's the dumb question, but still.
So salt saves lives. We know that. We know that we are protected by the use of salt on our roads, on our sidewalks, and in other places.
Yeah, so we want to be safe. And I bet you the public makes a lot of requests, let's call requests, of the city. What do you hear in Winooski? What do you hear about?
Typically people want more. You know, they want more in the sidewalks. The roads, not so much, but we get a lot of complaints about sidewalks, and people want more. And sidewalks are just a challenge for probably any city. Sidewalks don't drain. So you can lay rock salt down, it'll start to melt it, and then when the temperature drops, it just refreezes back in place. So it's always a challenge. We started using salt brine on our sidewalks. It works really well. We can plow and apply it at the same time. And
I'm thinking too about like all of the different, it's not just people that are using sidewalks, you know, people are out there walking dogs and things. Like, is the brine better for pets on paws, tender little paws? I know sometimes you see animals out with their little booties on.
I feel like it is, because it's just a solution, so it's 23.3%. So instead of having the concentration of rock salt, it's just a diluted solution, so I would think it's less abrasive on a dog's paws. So.
Well, so where did all this innovation come from? Where did these ideas start?
Well, back in 2024, I went to a workshop, and I met Chris and I met Mark French from Hyde Park, and I listened to what they had to say, and I realized that we could be better at the city, and we wanted to start implementing some of the practices that we had talked about.
That's pretty great. So you just decided that, you know, Winooski needed to be a leader. You were going to take the leadership role yourself and change things around for the city. Yep.
I went back, I talked to my director, and he decided that it was a good idea as well, so we brought it up the chain and we got it approved.
Well, that's pretty great. So, and have folks, like now that you're doing things like the brining, instead of saying that the salt maybe is a little more visible, how is the public responding to it? Do they know about this?
I don't think everybody's fully aware yet. We're trying to get the word out. Some people think we're out putting water on the road.
Are you listening, Winooski?
Some people think we're just out putting water on the road, and it's actually a brine solution. So we've had a few ask.
I was going to say, I'm like imagining the phone call. It's like, why are you putting water on the road to freeze? It is a brine solution. There is method behind the madness.
There is method.
Okay. What kind of impacts can these changes have on ecosystems?
Well, we hope that it's minimizing the impact to ecosystems because Jason and others can, I think Mark and Hyde Park, they've cut their salt use by about 40%. Wow. Jason's example sounds like it's about a fifth of the salt that they were using by having this saltwater mixture instead of just pure dry salt. So less is more in this case. It can still keep us safe and minimize how much is getting into soil and waters.
Okay. Yep. Well, and okay, so I said that it was Winter Salt Week and that there were things that you can do to celebrate it. Haha, we're going to celebrate it by changing our habits at home. So what are some things that folks can do to make a difference?
So if you are a community member, you can support your town to be able to adopt new technologies. There are different technologies that the communities can
say you heard it here, you want to do what Winooski's doing.
So you can do brine, but there's also other things. Other communities are using segmented plows, which scrape the road better. That means that less salt needs to be applied if you can clean it better. They can measure pavement temperatures to know, hey, the pavement's already warm enough, it's not going to freeze today, we can skip a run on the salt. So there are other technologies that communities can buy into. So support your community,
be an advocate.
To that. And then as an individual, if you are salting in your driveway, you can actually follow a 3-inch spread distance. So I have these little stickers. This is 3 inches.
Graphic.
So your grains of salt can be apart 3 inches. You don't need to have piles of salt to do the work. And if you do end up with a pile of salt, you can sweep it up, put it in a bucket, and spread it for a different storm rather than letting it just wash off with snowmelt.
So be a less aggressive spreader. Think a little bit more about how much salt you're putting out there. Sweep a little bit of it off. It's almost kind of like we have to learn a new level of comfort about what that salt is doing and a little more trust.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Also, if they want to know more about some of these things, I think for Winter Salt Week, there's an event coming up, or there's things they can do.
There are webinars happening all week. In the afternoon, you can learn more at the website that is being shown to you.
We have it right there on the screen. So 26th to the 30th. Got webinars happening all week.
And they're directed not only to members of the public who are salting at home, but also to people working with private contractors or private contractors around, like, how do you write a contract that helps to reduce the amount of salt? So for businesses, that could be useful. There's also going to be some success stories shared from where people are using sustainable practices.
Ooh, success stories. Those are good. See, that's the thing. So we need that. We need heroes out there who are changing the situation in their towns. We need all of us to be doing what we can do individually, collectively. We can help do better by our ecosystems while at the same time keeping us all safe. Fantastic. Well, Chris and Jason, thank you so much for joining me today. Also, we love YouTube. You can watch those webinars and then head over to our Across the Fence page and watch any episodes you've missed. And we've got kind of some chilly weather coming up, so I think that sounds like a pretty good plan for a snowy week ahead. Chris and Jason, thanks for joining me. And as always, Vermont, thanks for learning and exploring with me today. And thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.